Bessent has also said that he will meet his Chinese counterpart next week and discuss what is likely to be an extension of the August 12th deadline for higher tariffs. He also emphasised that US national security would not be compromised in any trade discussions with China. This comes as Bessent said in an interview that trade with China was in a very good place and the meetings in Stockholm would take place next Monday and Tuesday. Bessent revealed that the Trump administration plans to address a broader range of issues in these talks, including reducing China's over-reliance on manufacturing and shifting towards building a consumer economy. He also addressed concerns over China's continued purchase of sanctioned Russian and Iranian oil, as well as China's involvement in supporting Russia's war against Ukraine. Bessent reiterated that the US is poised to announce a rash of trade deals in the coming days, with Japan being a potential partner despite the recent political upheaval. Bessent warned that for most countries, tariffs could boomerang back to the April 2nd levels at Liberation Day, though negotiations on new trade deals could continue. Thank you for staying with us, Ruben. Let's cast our net wider now and have a look at these other countries. China is an interesting one, of course, because, as I mentioned earlier, reciprocal rates that reach triple digits on both nations, imposed by both nations, have, of course, eased. Meetings that took place in Geneva and well as London seeming to come to a resolution. Do you think that this is a path towards a better relationship regarding trade between the US and China? Or is this still on a knife's edge and could go one way or the other if either party is unhappy with what the other does?
It's hard for me to see an improvement in the U.S.-China trade for several reasons. One is that Xi Jinping, with great fanfare, has announced and will be holding on the 3rd of September a monstrous military parade in Beijing to celebrate 80 years since the surrender of Japan, the end of the Second World War. And everything that China's been doing, if you're watching the Chinese media, every day there's some sort of a story or an announcement that shows how China is getting stronger and the US is getting weaker, and China's the predominant force and will continue to get stronger, and the US will continue to get weaker. And so therefore, in a situation like that, it's very, very hard for him to back down on any sort of what might be recognized as unreasonable demands by the US. The second thing that's going on is that if you're watching the newspapers in the last 2 or 3 days here, there is a United States government employee from the Department of Commerce who has family ties in China, who went to China in April on a personal visit, a non-business visit, and he's been barred from leaving the country. And this is turning into, slowly, this is could become a diplomatic crisis. And then thirdly, the situation with the Chinese is that they would be subject to these secondary sanctions I spoke about a few minutes ago if they continue to buy Russian oil, if Russia doesn't decide to sit down and make some sort of a peace deal with Ukraine. So there are multiple reasons now why I don't see much of an improvement in the Chinese situation. And Xi Jinping is not one who's ever going to want to appear as though he's caving into American demands.
Yes, Ruben, absolutely. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to speak with us. Ruben mentioned there